So real quick with the AP changes. So the new exam for you guys is, I know I've kind of gone over it, but we are going to have a rhetorical analysis essay. And you do have, what they do is they give you 45 minutes. In those 45 minutes, you are to write it and turn it in. I've got people in my waiting room. Hang on. Here we go. So you have the whole, well, yeah, it's the same thing. I am recording for sure. Thank you for, thank you, Juliana.
A lot less and a lot more brittle.
I'm
Then
gonna
you have metabolic
you guys.
Crickets and osteomalacia both characterized by loss of bone mineral related to vitamins.
Okay. That was my bad. I should have muted you guys. So AP changes, rhetorical analysis essay, you have 45 minutes. You have 40 minutes to write the essay and then 5 minutes to turn it in. It's very, the very good news for that is that you guys have been practicing all year long with writing your essays in 40 minutes. So this won't be new for you guys. In fact, some of you have written these rhetorical analysis essays in less than that because during our, like our mock exams, you guys sometimes give synthesis more time and you write these in like 30 minutes or so. So I think that focusing, and it's just this is all that is the exam, focusing on one thing will help you be able to to turn it in and be comfortable with it. So rhetorical analysis, now the actual exam date, the actual exam date is May 20th, that's ugly too, 2020, and it is at 1 p.m. So the way that I know that it'll work is that you'll be able to log on. I'm guessing it's going to be something similar to AP Classroom, where you'll be able to log on and you complete the exam. Now, it is an open book exam. So what that means is we're going to be able to have, you'll have notes set up for it. I mean, you can have some notes, and I'm trying to focus on like a one-pager of notes for you guys that you can have and you can keep referencing throughout the exam. So it won't be cheating because they said it's open book. The only thing that is considered cheating and you cannot do not do, would be if you Google answers, like Google how to do it. If you your friend writes it for you. Like, for instance, if I was like, man, I think this kid deserves to pass, and I just do the exam for them, that would be considered cheating. So you can't have anyone do it for you. It has to be you. But as far as grading, I don't know exactly sure what a qualifying score is. Would it be a 3, a 4, and a 5? I don't know that yet. As soon as I get more information on that, I'll let you guys know. Just be on the lookout. But for now, these are the things, which brings me to my next point. Next week, a work for next week will be not simpler necessarily. It's just I'm only going to have you do the journals, which I will explain right now. And then the actual practice essay. I am going to time you on it. I'm only going to give you 45 minutes. And it is going to be done not Google Classroom, but AP Classroom. So on Tuesday, I will probably upload a video just to show you guys how to navigate through AP Classroom. And then I will go ahead and just assign it for you guys. So it will be a rhetorical analysis essay. And then again, it will be timed for 45 minutes. So make sure that when you sit down to complete it, you have 45 minutes of time. So if you know your mom just started cooking for lunch, you're like, Mom, when will you be done with lunch? And then she's like, I'll be done in an hour. Perfect. You got 45 minutes and you even got a 15-minute break just to make sure that you guys have, that you can work on this essay. So that's what I have for those two things. Now, as far as AP changes and what you'll be working on next week, does anyone have any questions? Feel free to use the chat box or you can unmute yourself. Just remember to mute yourself afterward. I see AJ, Angel, and Liana and Gabby on my screen. Can I get a thumbs up from someone? Well, Liana and Gabby are not showing video. Is there multiple choice? No, there is not multiple choice. It's just a rhetorical analysis essay. I know it's the most difficult one, but it's just 45 minutes, so there's no time for multiple choice or anything like that. It's nice in the sense that you don't have to like split your time with anything. It's just straight up rhetorical analysis. They just couldn't do multiple choice because you can easily cheat on multiple choice. Like it was very strategic in why they chose the rhetorical analysis. All right, so I'm gonna move on from that. I'm gonna just scratch it off from my little agenda. Okay, the next thing that I'm gonna talk about is journals 2.0. So I will upload the actual journals assignment. You're not gonna use the next one, so I will label it journals 2.0 so you know this is the correct one. Remember, you're only gonna do 2 per week and they're not a page long. The personal one is about 6 to 10 sentences, which equals to about 2 paragraphs. Honestly, I just want to know how you're doing. Just checking on your thoughts, having a space for you to just kind of let out what you need to do. It could be personal like this. It could be a poem that is approximately 15 stanzas, not stanzas, I'm sorry, 15 lines. Poems are hard, so 15 lines doesn't seem like a lot, but it's just a place for you to let out whatever you're feeling. And then the article of the week one. So it's 4 sentences. And basically what you would be doing is soapstone in paragraph form. Now you're like, well, how the heck do I do soapstone in paragraph form? Very easy. You did it last week. The first thing that you will do is you're going to go to the website allsides.com. I have 2 people in the waiting room. Sorry. So in allsides.com, you're going to essentially pick an article. So I'm going to go through the motions, and remember, all of this is being recorded. So when I do post my YouTube video up and you're like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing, or I forgot what she said, you can always come here and look back at it. So I open up my internet browser. Oops, what the heck? My Safari is being dumb, guys. Let me try it like this. So allsides.com. Well, it was right there, but. And then, so you have it loaded up. Now it is gonna look a little bit different because this is how it looks like on my iPad. But notice how there are articles from the center, from the left, from the right, and from the left. So what you want to do is you pick a topic. Now, I don't want you to pick anything from the first part. I want you to go scroll down a little bit. And I know you can't really see because unfortunately it's not, but there's this on the middle right, on the middle right, it says even more. So click that. So now we've gotten to this place, and we've done this before, so this isn't the first time you'd be seeing this, but you've got to the place where you have all of these different articles. You can literally choose whichever one you want, like any article. So I want to do one that has, maybe I want to do one that has nothing to do with the pandemic. Maybe I just want to talk about food, but like food from, like, let me look at the end of 2019 because there's just too much stuff going on. So I might do like December 2019. Apply. And now I can choose my topic. I can change it to food. Well, I'm sorry, that's not what I wanted to do. Oh, here we go. Nabisco redesigns animal cracker boxes. It's from 2018, but you know what? It's still good enough. So when you're looking at this, it comes up with 3 different sides. You have from the right, from the left, and from the center. So the goal is always to click the closest to the center as you can be. So for instance, if the from the center one wasn't there, if you would just like pretend it didn't exist, then you might choose the left one because it's only left leaning a little bit, and then the right one is too much to the right. The reason I want you to do that is because if you choose like the super far left or the super far right ones, they're a little bit more biased. I don't know how biased you can be when it comes to redesigning animal cracker boxes, but like I get it. And then seeing as this is about removing cages from animal crackers, there can definitely be some bias, I guess, because it's talking about animal rights, not just like animal crackers. But you would click this, read full story on from the center. So it'll open up the article and where it's from. Remember, you need to, well, you don't, I haven't gone over it again, but it shows you like where it's from. So this is from NPR. The title, No More Cages, New Animal Cracker Packaging Sets the Mighty Beast Free. It was on August 21st, 2018, and it's by Merritt Kennedy. These are all important things that I'm going to need in the very first sentence. So before I even move on, I might make note of this. So I'm going to move on. I'm going to move back. And so sentence number 1 has the author's argument. So I'm going to need, again, author's full name, title of the article, title of publication, date of publication. So I already got all of those things from just the top part. No more cages, new animal cracker packaging sets the mighty beast free. So all of that is there. The only thing that's not there is going to be the actual argument from this article. But the only way I'm going to get that article is if I read it. Now, I'm not going to read the whole thing. I mean, it's fairly short, but I'm not going to read the whole thing. So once I read it and I know what the argument is, then I can just include it there. Right, this is sentence 1, and it's supposed to look exactly like this. Like, just all you do is fill in the blanks and write it out yourself. Sentence 2, right, you have the author's last name. You already know this part. Then you look at evidence type. This person is making an argument. What are they using to support this argument? So again, you're going to list an evidence type. Maybe they're establishing credibility. By bringing in an outside source. Maybe they're using statistics. I don't know why my iPad keeps doing that. Maybe they're using statistics. Statistics. What other things do you, just to provide some examples for you guys so you know what you're looking for, what other things, I don't even know what's happening in the group chat, but what other things would be considered evidence? It's a question for everyone. Historical examples, maybe you point back to history. Which brings me to anecdotes. So anything that's considered evidence, anything specific, all of those things count. And so you would type it here. So I'm making up this article name, but I might say something like Teran's evidence primarily consists of anecdotes and statistics. That's it. That is sentence 2. And then the article is meant to convince. So what do you think the author is trying to do? So here, again, this is purpose. So this is the purpose. You would write in here why the author is trying to say this. So are they trying to inform you about these changes? Are they trying to tell you like they're doing the right thing? Or are they trying to tell you Nabisco is stupid? Why are they even changing a wrapper? So whatever you think the author is trying to do, that's what you would mark on there. So this again, purpose. And then last but not least, sentence 4. The audience primarily consists of, and then tell me the audience and purpose, but you already put purpose, so you're okay. The author's tone, so subject, and then tone. So this is literally a soapstone, guys. You don't have to come up with anything except the blanks. You're just filling in the blanks, and the way you're gonna fill in those blanks is by reading the actual article. Do I have any questions on what you need to do for the article of the week? Thank you, AJ and Angel, for answering. I just want to make sure. If you do have questions, I think what I'm going to end up doing is when I upload the document, I'll just add this. I'll add the, how do you call it? The formula, not the formula, but the outline for it. I'll write it in there. As far as how you should title the journals, you can title it, like the personal ones, just title it by date. Just be like personal. And then you can title the article of the week once just by the title of the article. Any more questions? All right. So I'm going to cross that out. What I did for week 1, because week 1 was a little intense for us all, I dropped one of the grades. So whatever your lowest grade was, I dropped it. Now, if you got 100 on both, I didn't drop anything, but I figured I could just you can take care of that dropped grade and use it later on. But even like that, I still have a lot of people with zeros or who are failing my class. If it is a 0, is it dropped? Yes. If you got a 0, is it dropped? Yeah. If one of them was like 100 or a 50 and then the other one was a 0, I dropped the 0. So, but I had people that have 2 zeros. And so my people have 2 zeros. I need you to make up one of those grades for some partial credit. I did give you an extension last week, but I just need you guys to make sure that you are still completing the work. Sorry. I need to make sure that you guys are still completing the work. Like I'm still holding you accountable for it. So you can still get partial credit for it. But you need to make sure you're staying on top of the things. I'm being nice with the stuff from week 1 so you can still make some of it up. But again, I'm not dropping any more grades. This was just, I was getting the hang of it and it was a lot. So I dropped one of them. That's it with dropped grades. Does anyone have any questions on drop grades? All I did was exempt. All I did was exempt with the lowest one. I mean, yeah. All right. My chat people, I'm gonna need you to stop with the little faces. It's distracting me. Really what it is, it's distracting. YouTube videos. Oh, yes. I post the YouTube videos for a reason. Some of you guys ask me questions that are kind of like, it's a long explanation that I can't really give by text. And so first look at the YouTube video and then, or like you can always skip through the parts just like, oh wait, she's talking about something else. Let me fast forward a little bit. I love helping you and I don't mind helping you. And in fact, I spend most of the day like answering texts from you guys for help, and that's totally fine. But sometimes I will respond to the text with like, oh, did you watch my YouTube video yet? Because it's such a complicated answer to just give via text. Like, I don't know that you would understand it. It makes more sense if I show you on the screen of my iPad, which is why I do it in that way. So that's just like the heads up for that. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go over the assignment for today. It's similar to what you did last week, but there's no graphic organizer. The purpose of this is I want you to practice what it would be like to be annotating with the article in front of you, not on like there's no paper. You can't be like writing all over the margins or anything. So you're gonna have to be writing writing notes on the side of your paper. For now, you can use the comments on in Google Classroom on the Google Doc. So what we're gonna do this week is the first thing is it's asking you to answer the questions for Superman and me. So it shows you the questions first. Obviously, you cannot answer these questions, or you can answer some of them, but you can't really answer these questions until you have read the text. Now, I use the text that we've already read in the past, and the reason I did this again is because the purpose of this is to practice the annotations. So I want you to be like going through the motions of what it would be like to be reading the text in front of you and just going on it like that, not having it in paper. So again, this one is asking you, the first question asks, based on the subject, who do you think the author is reaching out to? And that's really just your audience. What choices does the author make to appeal? So choices, appeals. So it's asking about appeals and main choices, main rhetorical strategies. Don't give me a long list. Just mention like 2 of the most important ones. What does he rely on the most? So 2 to 3 main strategies he relies on. What is the author saying about the big idea you picked out? So this, scratch this, it's talking about universal ideas, like what is his central claim? And so it's more like, what is he talking about? Is he talking about education? Is he talking about hope? Is he talking about love? Like, remember those things we did in week 1? So here you're gonna pick one universal idea. And again, I'm gonna put it in parentheses. So like love, being educated, winning. So pick one, but also provide and main argument. So what is he arguing? Argument. What is the author's intended purpose? So question 4 is asking about purpose. So far, does anyone have any questions on maybe what any of these questions is asking you? Or maybe I said something you don't know what it means. Feel free to ask on the group chat. You can always also like private message me if you don't want to ask out like just out loud or for everyone to see. It's okay. All right. So that is activity number 1. Remember, read the questions and then read the text. The next thing it's going to ask you to do, and yes, you are going to highlight these things. So return to the text and highlight logical arguments. So remember, this is logos. What is logos again, guys?
Logic.
Thank you. Logic. And then you're doing that in yellow. Pathological arguments in blue. What's pathological arguments?
Emotion?
Emotion, yes. And then credible arguments in green. That is ethos, right? You're establishing credibility. Why should I believe you? After highlighting the examples of each appeal, remember these appeals will appear multiple times. I'm going to tell you this right now. The biggest appeal in this one is going to be pathos. So pathos is going to be the one that you see the most. After highlighting the examples of each, multiple times, add a comment. Does everyone know how to add a comment onto a document? I add these all the time for you guys. All you do is like highlight the whatever you want to comment on, and then just put the rhetorical. So I would highlight a quote and then add a comment that identifies the rhetorical choice or strategy that is being utilized. So what you might do is add the comment, like highlight, like I'm going to pretend that I'm highlighting this, right? And then on the comment, I would say something like, this is parallelism. Oops. Parallelism. And then discuss what the strategy does for the audience. And then this forces audience to not only relate, to struggles, but also motivates them to succeed, right? Remember that when you're doing analysis, it's not enough to be like, oh, this is explaining freedom. You have to tell me what this is forcing the audience to do. That is actual analysis. So that might be in my comment, right? I highlighted this and then I pressed a little plus sign and then this is my comment. So that's what I want you guys to do. And you're going to do this for the whole text. Now this text. I learned to read with a Superman comic. Simple enough, I suppose. I cannot recall which particular Superman comic I read, nor can I remember which villain he fought in that issue. I cannot remember the plot, nor the means by which I obtained the comic book. What I can remember is this. I was 3 years old, a Spokane Indian boy living with his family on the Spokane Indian Reservation in eastern Washington state. We were poor by most standards, but one of my parents usually managed to find some minimum wage job or another, which made us middle class by reservation standards. I had a brother and 3 sisters. We lived on a combination of irregular paychecks, hope, fear, and government surplus food. My father, who was one of the few Indians who went to Catholic school on purpose, was an avid reader of westerns, spy thrillers, murder mysteries, gangster epics, basketball player biographies, and anything else he could find. He bought his books by the pound at the Dutch's pawn shop, Goodwill, Salvation Army, and Value Village. When he had extra money, he bought new books at supermarkets, convenience stores, and hospital gift shops. Our house was filled with books. They were stacked in crazy piles in the bathroom, bedrooms, and living room. In a fit of unemployment-inspired creative energy, my father built a set of bookshelves and soon filled them with a random assortment of books about the Kennedy assassination, Watergate, the Vietnam War, and the entire 23-book series of the Apache Western. My father loved books. And since I love my father, and with an aching devotion, I decided to love books as well. I can remember picking up my father's books before I could read. The words themselves were mostly foreign, but I still remember the exact moment when I first understood, with a sudden clarity, the purpose of a paragraph. I didn't have the vocabulary to say paragraph, but I realized that a paragraph was a fence that held words. The words inside a paragraph worked together for a common purpose. They had a specific reason for being inside the same fence. This knowledge delighted me. I began to think of everything in terms of paragraphs. Our reservation was a small paragraph within the United States. My family's house was a paragraph distinct from the other paragraphs of the Librettes to the north, the Fords to our south, and the tribal school to the west. Inside our house, each family member existed as a separate paragraph, but still had genetics and common experiences to link us. Now, using this logic, I can see my changed family as an essay of 7 paragraphs. Mother, father, older brother, the deceased sister, my younger twin sisters, and our adopted little brother. At the same time, I was seeing the world in paragraphs. I also picked up that Superman comic book. Each panel, complete with picture, dialogue, and narrative, was a 3-dimensional paragraph. In one panel, Superman breaks through the door. His suit is red, blue, and yellow. The brown door shatters in many pieces. I look at the narrative above the picture. I cannot read the words, but I assume it tells me that Superman is breaking down the door. Aloud, I pretend to read the words and say, Superman is breaking down the door. Words, dialogue also flowed out of Superman's mouth because he is breaking down the door. I assume he says, I am breaking down the door. Once again, I pretend to read the words and say aloud, I am breaking down the door. In this way, I learn to read. This might be an interesting story all by itself. A little Indian boy teaches himself to read at an early age and advances quickly. He reads Grapes of Wrath in kindergarten when other children are struggling through Dick and Jane. If he'd been anything but an Indian boy living on the reservation, he might have been called a prodigy. But he is an Indian boy living on the reservation and is simply an oddity. He grows into a man who often speaks of his childhood in the third person, as if it will somehow dull the pain and make him sound more modest about his talents. A smart Indian is a dangerous person, wildly feared and ridiculed by Indians and non-Indians alike. I fought with my classmates on a daily basis. They wanted me to stay quiet when the non-Indian teacher asked for answers, for volunteers, for help. We were Indian children who were expected to be stupid. Most lived up to those expectations inside the classroom, but subverted them on the outside. They struggled with basic reading in school, but could remember how to sing a few dozen powwow songs. They were monosyllabic in front of their non-Indian teachers, but could tell complicated stories and jokes at the dinner table. They submissively ducked their heads when confronted by a non-Indian adult, but would slug it out with the Indian bully who was 10 years older. As Indian children, we were expected to fail in the non-Indian world. Those who failed were ceremonially accepted by other Indians and appropriately pitied by non-Indians. I refused to fail. I was smart, I was arrogant, I was lucky. I read books late into the night until I could barely keep my eyes open. I read books at recess, then during lunch, and in the few minutes left after I had finished my classroom assignments. I read books in the car when my family traveled to powwows or basketball games. In shopping malls, I ran to the bookstores and read bits and pieces of as many books as I could. I read the books my father brought home from the pawn shops and secondhand. I read the books I borrowed from the library. I read the backs of cereal boxes. I read the newspaper. I read the bulletins posted on the walls of the school, the clinic, the tribal offices, the post office. I read junk mail. I read auto repair manuals. I read magazines. I read anything that had words and paragraphs. I read with equal parts joy and desperation. I loved those books, but I also knew that the love had only one purpose. I was trying to save my life. Despite all the books I read, I am still surprised I became a writer. I was going to be a pediatrician. These days, I write novels, short stories, and poems. I visit schools and teach creative writing to Indian kids. In all my years in the reservation school system, I was never taught how to write poetry, short stories, or novels. I was certainly never taught that Indians wrote poetry, short stories, and novels. Writing was something beyond Indians. I cannot recall a single time that a guest teacher visited the reservation. There must have been visiting teachers. Who were they? Where are they now? Do they exist? I visit the schools as often as possible. The Indian kids crowd the classroom. Many are writing their own poems, short stories, and novels. They have read my books. They have read many other books. They look at me with bright eyes and arrogant wonder. They are trying to save their lives. Then there are the sullen and already defeated Indian kids who sit in the back rows and ignore me with the theatrical precision. The pages of their notebooks are empty. They carry neither pencil nor pen. They stare out the window. They refuse and resist. Books, I say to them. Books, I say. I throw my weight against their locked doors. The door holds. I am smart. I am arrogant. I am lucky. And I am trying to save our lives.